Hello everyone, Paleo Nerd here with the first episode of YouTube Critiques, where I watch other YouTubers' videos about paleontology and see how well they hold up. Just think of this as a series where I react to other people's videos. Videos on TikTok about paleontology also seem to be really terrible, because of course they are, so I might do shorter videos about those in the future, but let's put that aside for now. This is a series I've contemplated doing for a while, but have been hesitant to go through with because I was a bit unsure about YouTube's policy regarding making videos about other people's content, and because it might feel a bit mean-spirited to just criticize other people's hard work. The main focus of this series will be countdown videos, specifically the clickbait top 10 videos you see everywhere on YouTube because the algorithm loves countdowns. While I have nothing against the concept of countdown videos, on YouTube the genre has become oversaturated and many channels revolving entirely around countdowns have been made, many of which are just soulless content farms which just spit out multiple videos a day to keep the algorithm satisfied. Bad countdown videos also tend to involve clickbait, misinformation, and poor research. With paleontology videos, this is definitely the case, especially if the video has a title like Most Dangerous Dinosaurs or Animals You're Glad Are Extinct. However, we're going to start out with a video I don't personally feel is super terrible, especially since it isn't from your typical YouTube content farm, as a way to sort of ease my audience in. For those of you who might not know, Mr. Nightmare is perhaps one of the most popular horror channels on YouTube with over 6 million subscribers, and is best known for telling scary stories submitted to him by other people, but also other videos on scary or otherwise disturbing content. He's also had his fair share of countdowns, although most are unlisted or straight up deleted. However, only one of those videos matters today, and it is currently the only paleontology-related video on his entire channel, that being Top 10 Nightmarish Animals You Will Be Happy Are Extinct. Yeah, pretty much expected coming from a horror channel, so I won't go too hard on the title. And he does at least acknowledge that extinction is not a good thing in the description, so I'll give him a pass for this for now. Honestly, I don't really feel like going super hard on this video in general. The channel that made it isn't some soulless content farm pumping 2 to 3 videos a day with basically no effort put in. This one is just poorly researched, which isn't too uncommon among paleontology related YouTube videos, even my own. So don't view this as an attack on Mr. Nightmare or his viewers, but just as some constructive criticism from a longtime fan. For now, the format for these videos will basically be like a reaction video. I'll play the video and pause it at certain moments when I have something to say, and some parts will be edited out for the purpose of pacing, although maybe not so much for this video since it's not even 7 minutes long. Keep in mind, this video was uploaded in November of 2015, so while I will use sources published after this video was made, I am not criticizing Mr. Nightmare based on any information that wasn't available at the time, since it's very obviously unreasonable to expect him to be able to see the future. Also, before I forget, if you've watched some of Mr. Nightmare's more recent videos, you may notice that he'll sometimes place a disclaimer at the beginning, basically warning against re-uploading his content under threat of termination. This obviously doesn't apply to your standard reaction video, since most will show the viewer's face. In fact, some of Mr. Nightmare's old deleted videos can literally only be viewed this way. I'm not really comfortable revealing my face yet, but I will probably still make some changes to the original video to avoid any copyright issues. So if you notice I've added anything or cropped the video a certain way, that's why. So it would seem we have Pookie1991 to thank for this video.
So throughout history, there have been some ferocious creatures that have roamed the earth, and it seems the biggest and most dangerous have since gone extinct.
Also, we get the classic all the big scary animals are extinct bit, which I'd say is stretching it. I mean, the largest animal to ever exist is still around today, and I'm not a huge fan of the mentality that everything was bigger and scarier in prehistoric times, since it overlooks a vast majority of the organisms that once existed on this planet that wouldn't have been any bigger or more threatening than those alive today.
For this list, I won't be including very well-known animals such as the Spinosaurus or T-Rex, or for the most part, any other dinosaurs.
Believe it or not, that statement about not including many dinosaurs is actually true, as only one spot on this list is taken up by an actual dinosaur, and even then it might not be in the way you would expect, so you don't have to worry about any animals being falsely listed as dinosaurs here.
Number 10. Gigantopithecus. This creature was a monstrous ape, closely related to the orangutan that roamed the bamboo forests, jungles, and mountains of China, India, and Vietnam during the Pleistocene time period. It was a vegetarian, but still probably not a sight for sore eyes.
So, we're off to a rocky start. While there are some decent reconstructions used, two pictures in particular show reconstructions of Gigantopithecus as a large bipedal ape, not unlike Sasquatch or the Yeti. While such reconstructions can't technically be ruled out entirely, since Gigantopithecus is currently known only from jaws and teeth, it is unlikely since, as Mr. Nightmare mentions, their closest living relatives are orangutans. Of course, there is the fact that Gigantopithecus has become popular in the field of cryptozoology, being the go-to candidate for the identity of ape-men cryptids like the aforementioned Sasquatch and Yeti, and there's even a deleted Mr. Nightmare video about Bigfoot sightings that goes along with the idea that the legendary creature is none other than Gigantopithecus. Needless to say, the existence of such cryptids has yet to be proven with any conclusive evidence, and it's very unlikely that Gigantopithecus was a biped, nor is there any evidence to suggest it crossed the Bering Land Bridge into North America.
It could grow up to 3 meters tall and weigh up to 1,200 pounds. Its strength was undoubtedly extraordinary and probably kept it safe from most predators, and it probably would not hesitate to use its strength against a human who got too close for its comfort. It went extinct 300,000 years ago, possibly due to overhunting by early humans, or as the result of climate change.
Most of the other stuff in here is accurate though, although the size estimate given is difficult to prove given the remains we have, especially since we know for a fact that molar size does not consistently correlate with total body size in primates. Height estimates of 2 to 3 meters do seem to be the most common, although a weight of 1,200 pounds, which is 544 kilos by the way, is way bigger than any I've been able to find in my research. Even the most recent estimates in 2017 are barely half that weight at about 200 to 300 kilos or 440 to 660 pounds. So I don't know where Mr. Nightmare could have gotten those 1,200 pound estimates from. One more minor thing is that India is listed as one of the places Gigantopithecus fossils have been found in. However, from what I can gather, the Indian Gigantopithecus remains are of the species Giganteus, which was originally named as a species of Dryopithecus in 1915, given its own genus Indopithecus in 1950, lumped into Gigantopithecus in 1979, and has been considered a distinct genus again since 2001, so currently the proper name to use for this species would be Indopithecus giganteus. Giganteus is briefly shown in the size chart with the only currently valid species of Gigantopithecus, Gigantopithecus blacki, which I bring up only because of the irony of the species named Giganteus being the smaller of the two.
Number 9. 3-foot-long scorpions. Officially known as Pulmonoscorpius, these creatures were very similar to today's scorpions, but could grow up to a meter long and were armed with sharp claws and a venomous stinger.
Just to clarify, Pulmonoscorpius kirktonensis is in fact a true scorpion. It should not be confused with Eurypterids, aka sea scorpions, which are a completely separate order of arachnids with no living representatives. The Eurypterid shown here is a Megalograptus, specifically one of the props used in the Sea Monsters Walking With special starring Nigel Marven. Unlike Eurypterids, Pulmonoscorpius was purely terrestrial, with its genus name literally meaning lung scorpion because it was preserved with book lungs, which are commonly seen in terrestrial arachnids like spiders and scorpions. While most complete specimens range from 13 millimeters to 28 centimeters, or 0.5 to 11 inches long, the largest known individuals may have grown up to over a meter or 2 feet long, so Mr. Nightmare's estimate of a meter long is accurate.
It's not known how deadly the venom was, but considering the large amount it injected with each attack, it was more than likely very deadly.
It is true that we don't know the potency of Pulmonoscorpius' venom, although the assumption that it would need to inject a large amount seems like it would be just as speculative, since surely the amount of venom it would inject would depend on how potent the venom is. When it comes to modern scorpions, the lethality of the venom can be estimated by looking at the thickness of the tail as well as the size of the pincers. Thick tails and small pincers indicate a highly venomous species, while thin tails with large pincers indicate a mildly or less venomous species. Based on the proportions seen in most reconstructions of Pulmonoscorpius I can find, they seem to be closer to those seen in highly venomous species, so it is certainly possible that the venom of this ancient scorpion was quite potent. Of course, it should be noted that of the over 2,500 known species of modern scorpion, only around 25, a whopping 1%, can actually deliver stings that are fatal to humans. Still, I wouldn't want to be stung by one of those just to find out.
During the time period that these things were around, there were also giant roaches the size of house cats, dragonflies the size of hawks, and millipede relatives up to 3 meters long.
Got to love the Clash of the Titans pictures he's using. In case you weren't aware, the time period he's referring to here is the Carboniferous. Specifically, Pulmonoscorpius lived during the early Carboniferous, also known as the Mississippian, about 336 to 326 million years ago. So I was curious about the quote cat-sized roaches, since I've heard them get mentioned a lot when reading about giant arthropods from the Carboniferous, yet no species are ever outright listed, so I decided to look into it. What I found is that the idea of a roach the size of a house cat comes from Arthropleura, which actually only grows to about 5 centimeters long, but a typo made it seem like 50 centimeters, which is around the length of an average house cat. There are some slightly bigger roaches, like Xenoblotta, which is about 9 centimeters, but none of them actually reached a size comparable to that of an adult house cat, nor do any of them exceed the size of the largest living cockroach, Megalodon longipennis, which can grow 11 centimeters long and has a wingspan of 22 centimeters. If we're going to be pedantic, true cockroaches were not around during the Carboniferous and first appeared in the fossil record during the early Cretaceous period about 145 million years ago. The aforementioned Arthropleura and Xenoblotta are more basal members of the clade Dictyoptera, which includes cockroaches, termites, and mantises. Other basal dictyopterans were around during the Carboniferous, and many of them did resemble modern cockroaches, resulting in them commonly being referred to by the informal name roachoids.
Number 8. Giant crocodiles. If normal crocodiles weren't bad enough, there was once a creature now known as Prehistoric, which was more than twice the size of a regular crocodile. It lived in South America 8 million years ago, and would grow up to 13 meters long. That's more than twice as long as the largest species of crocodile alive today. It would be fully capable of swallowing a human whole.
Twice the size of a regular croc, eh? The largest modern crocodile, the saltwater crocodile, typically max out at 6.3 meters or 21 feet in length. While the largest species of Prehistoric P. brasiliensis was previously estimated at a length of 12.5 meters or 40 feet long. A 2022 study suggests a length closer to 9.2 meters or 30 feet long, meaning the statement is no longer accurate. I genuinely don't know where the 13-meter estimate is coming from. It's not even shown on the prehistoric wildlife size chart he's using. Cringe, by the way. Although perhaps it simply came from rounding up the 12.5-meter estimate.
These giant crocodiles were capable of fighting T-Rexes and winning.
As for the fighting T-Rexes bit, I won't contest a Pterosaurus's ability to take down a Tyrannosaurid, especially since it did hunt some decently large animals in its day like ground sloths, but it wouldn't have exactly had the opportunity to prove such a claim, and making such a claim does carry with it the implication that Pterosaurus coexisted with dinosaurs like T-Rex. Perhaps that's just me having too little faith in Mr. Nightmare's audience, but just to set the record straight, as Mr. Nightmare himself said, Pterosaurus was from South America and lived during the Miocene epoch about 16 to 5.3 million years ago, while the last non-avian dinosaurs died out 66 million years ago, with T-Rex being exclusive to North America. There is, of course, Deinosuchus, another contender for the largest crocodilian known to science, and the subject of the picture being shown here, which did live in North America during the late Cretaceous, about 82 to 73 million years ago, making it a contemporary of T-Rex relatives like Gorgosaurus and Daspletosaurus, although it did not live with T-Rex itself.
Number 7. Quetzalcoatlus.
Okay, I know Quetzalcoatlus is a tough name to pronounce, and so I won't judge him too harshly there, although I do find it funny how this chapter of the video just gave up trying to spell it.
Undoubtedly the most horrifying living thing to ever come from the sky, these creatures were gigantic predatory birds standing at about roughly the same height as a giraffe. Some of them had wingspans of 12 to 15 meters, making them as large as a small plane.
And we've gotten to Mr. Nightmare calling pterosaurs birds. I know they fly, are warm-blooded, and possess filaments that may or may not be feathers, but pterosaurs are not birds, nor are they bats. They're a distinct order of flying reptiles with membranous wings, in contrast to the feathered wings of birds. To be completely fair, pterosaurs are somewhat close to birds, being closer to dinosaurs than to crocs, so birds are in fact the closest living relatives of pterosaurs, but they still split from a common ancestor over 230 million years ago. Current estimates place Quetzalcoatlus northropi at a height of around 5 meters or about 16 feet tall, which is within the height range of a modern giraffe, and a wingspan of 10 to 12 meters or 33 to 40 feet across. Although older studies, including its original description, did use 15-meter wingspan estimates. It should also be noted that the more complete Quetz remains belong to a recently described second species, Q. lawsoni, which was much smaller at an estimated wingspan of 4.5 meters or 15 feet and only weighing about 20 kilos or 44 pounds.
Number 6. Megalodon.
You knew this was coming. You saw the title. You know how popular Megalodon is. It was in your top 5 most likely animals to appear on this list. You're going to be seeing this animal a lot, just get used to it.
Megalodon was estimated to be 60 feet in length, weighing anywhere from 50 to 100 tons.
Something up with the mic there? I can't be the only one to notice the audio randomly change in volume there. Size estimates for the Meg do vary, since as a cartilaginous fish, the only remains we have of it are the teeth and occasional vertebrae. The most recent estimates I could find used the largest tooth remains to estimate a length of 20 meters or 66 feet long, although the margin of error there is around plus or minus 3.5 meters or 11 feet. Weight estimates also vary, so the 50 to 100 ton range given is fairly plausible.
Megalodon only died off about 2.6 million years ago. This means that he often interacted with animals that are still around today, like giant sea turtles, porpoises, and even whales.
In the time since this video was uploaded, the Meg's extinction date has been bumped back by 1,000,000 years, now believed to have occurred around 3.6 million years ago, possibly due to changes in its ecosystem, like how the merging of the two Americas altered the existing oceanic currents and caused a cascade which affected critical food sources.
If these guys were still around, it would just be one more reason to stay out of the ocean.
I also find it funny how he's talking about how much it would suck if Megalodon was still around today, which is fair, while using one of the least threatening looking great white pictures I've ever seen. Like, he looks so friendly, I want to pet him.
Number 5. Gorgonops.
Gotta say, I'm glad to see a specific Gorgonopsid genus being referred to by name for once, even if he did skip out on the really big ones like Rubigia or Inostrancevia.
Before dinosaurs came along, the planet was still full of giant, horrifying monsters. A prime example is Gorgonops, an animal that lived 260 million years ago, way before the dinosaurs became the dominant predators. At around 6 to 10 feet in length, Gorgonops was such a fast and vicious predator that it quickly rose to the top of the food chain.
Gorgonops reached a maximum length of 2 meters or around 6 feet long, but the 10-foot estimates are more in line with the larger Gorgonopsids I mentioned earlier, Inostrancevia and Rubigia. Inostrancevia in particular has a history with being confused with Gorgonops by the general public, since they do look slightly similar, and most media just refers to Gorgonopsids by their group name rather than any specific genus, often making it look like Gorgonopsids are just one species instead of an entire clade.
Of course, it also helped that Gorgonops had massive canines so large they nearly protruded beyond its lower jaw.
While still impressive, the large canines of Gorgonopsids don't quite reach the same extent as the later saber-toothed cats, and there don't seem to be any Gorgonopsids with canine teeth that extended very far past the bottom of the lower jaw. Recent studies of the scimitar-toothed cat Homotherium suggest that its canines would have been concealed beneath its lips when the animal was alive, and a lot of recent reconstructions of Gorgonopsids do the same thing, hiding the canines between the creature's lips when the mouth is closed, so it is entirely possible that if you were to see a living Gorgonops, you wouldn't even be able to see the large canines with its mouth closed.
Number 4. Terror birds. These birds were the top predators in South America and parts of North America during the Miocene, Pliocene, and early Pleistocene periods before they were replaced by big cats and other carnivorous mammals.
Already we got some stuff to unpack here. First, forest rockets have been found as far back as the Paleocene and were likely around since the beginning of the Cenozoic, and there are also possible forest rockets found in Europe and Africa during the Eocene, suggesting that the group was once more widespread before being limited solely to South America until they briefly colonized North America from 5 to 1.8 million years ago when a land bridge formed between the Americas. Just to be pedantic again for a brief moment, the Miocene, Pliocene, and Pleistocene are not periods but epochs, within the Neogene period for the first two and the Quaternary period for the last one. Also, competition for mammalian predators like cats, wolves, and bears are unlikely to have been the main cause of the extinction of forest rockids, as the large ones seem to have already gone extinct in South America by the time carnivorans migrated into the continent. And in North America, the forest rocket Titanus lived alongside such animals for over 3 million years. Instead, the timing of the big bird's extinction seems to line up with the beginning of a new glacial period, which would have resulted in a massive change in the environment, including the expansion of grasslands and the reduction of the forest Titanus would have needed to sneak up on prey. There's also the fact that the increase in size of the cats, wolves, and bears Titanus coexisted with didn't really occur until after the bird hit the dust, indicating it was to fill a vacant niche left by its extinction rather than the direct cause of the extinction.
Unlike Quetzalcoatlus, they were unable to fly, but could run very fast, some speculate as fast as a cheetah.
Comparing the speed of a terror bird to that of a cheetah isn't completely unprecedented, but it does seem very unlikely, especially for the larger species. For reference, cheetahs can reach a top speed of almost 100 kilometers per hour, or over 60 miles per hour, while most forest rockets were probably closer to a speed of 70 kilometers per hour, and larger birds like Paraphaisaurus and Kulenkin were likely slower than that.
And of course they were very large, with the largest of the species growing up to 3 meters tall and weighing up to half a ton. Their main weapon was their head, which could grow up to a meter long, allowing them to swallow prey as large as a dog in one single gulp.
The largest terror bird currently known is Kulenkin guillermoi, which is indeed estimated to reach up to 3 meters or almost 10 feet tall. However, weight estimates seem to be around 195 kilograms or 430 pounds. Brontornis burmeisteri is slightly shorter but much heavier at around 350 to 400 kilograms or 770 to 880 pounds, which isn't quite half a ton, but it's close enough. Kulenkin is indeed the owner of the largest skull ever recorded for a bird at almost a meter long.
However, thanks to the hooked tip of the bill, which was used as a weapon, the terror birds could kill and devour prey much larger than a dog, including horses, camels, and humans, if they were around at the time.
Humans were not around at the time, at least not in the Americas. In fact, by the time the last of the terror birds died out in the Americas, Homo erectus had just started spreading across Eurasia, and we Homo sapiens wouldn't travel to the Americas until around 20 to 15,000 years ago.
Number 3. Titanoboa.
This guy is going to be another frequent creature on these lists.
Being the largest snake to ever exist, Titanoboa grew upwards of 15 meters long and weighed over a ton. It lived in the warm climates of the tropics 60 million years ago.
All these statements so far are true. Titanoboa is currently the largest snake ever discovered, and larger estimates have placed it around 14 meters or 47 feet long and weighing around 1,135 kilos or 2,500 pounds, which is over a ton.
It killed its prey by squashing it like the modern boa constrictor, and there's pretty much nothing that thing couldn't squeeze like a tube of toothpaste. Meaning, this thing would eat you like a boa constrictor would eat a guinea pig, which is why you should be happy it's extinct.
Now's where we get to the less accurate part. Titanoboa is a vicious apex predator that could swallow crocs and people whole, has been called into question ever since an abstract presented by Jason Head and his colleagues in 2013 found that the skull anatomy of Titanoboa suggests a more pisciferous diet, rare among even modern snakes and otherwise unheard of in boids. Yes, that's right, Titanoboa was probably a fish eater. Although to my knowledge this abstract has never been published, so I'm not sure how much of it holds up to scrutiny, nor can I find any newer publications that address Titanoboa's diet. Still, a pisciferous lifestyle isn't completely unfounded, as the big snake lived in Colombia during the Paleocene epoch about 60 million years ago, which would have been an extensive river system and rainforest not unlike that seen in the Amazon today. There have also been fish fossils recovered from the same formation as Titanoboa, although no named taxa so far.
Number 2. Arthropleura. If you've ever seen a centipede or millipede crawling through your backyard and you thought that was a whole lot of nope, or perhaps seen or heard of the giant centipede and thought those things were horrifying, then you might not want to know about the Arthropleura, which were massive millipedes that could grow up to 3 meters long.
Not really that much to say here. Mr. Nightmare doesn't really say anything inaccurate here, but just to clarify, yes, Arthropleura is a millipede, as it is classified as a member of the class Diplopoda, which includes all living millipedes. The 3-meter length estimate also isn't that exaggerated, as the largest specimens have been estimated to reach lengths of around 2.5 meters or over 8 feet long.
These things had few, if any, predators, and it's not actually known whether they themselves were predators or not, but either way, odds are you would not want to run into one of these things.
Its diet is indeed ambiguous, as fossils thought to be coprolites containing plant matter, suggesting Arthropleura was an herbivore, turned out to simply be a mix of uneaten plant matter and shed exoskeleton. The current consensus is still that Arthropleura was an herbivore, so its appearance and size are really the only reason most people would find it all that scary. One minor thing, I'm not sure if this is an actual mispronunciation or if it's the inflection of his voice or whatever, but it certainly sounds like Mr. Nightmare is saying Arthropleura throughout this segment.
Arthropleura, the Arthropleura, Arthropleura, the Arthropleura, Arthropleura. And number 1, Mosasaurus.
This picture shown here, commonly used in association with Mosasaurus in videos like this, is actually of the closely related mosasaur Pronathodon, specifically from the film C-Rex. There's also the classic pronunciation error of Mosasaurus instead of Mosasaurus. It's not moss lizard, it's Mose lizard, in reference to the Mose River where the original fossils were found.
Fossil evidence suggests that Mosasaurus could reach as much as 50 feet in length, making it one of the largest marine predators of Earth's history.
The largest species of Mosasaurus, M. hoffmanii, has sometimes been estimated to reach 17 meters or 56 feet in length. However, more conservative estimates suggest a length of around 13 meters or 43 feet. Although this doesn't mean there wouldn't have been exceptionally large individuals that could reach 50 feet.
Mosasaurus's head was like that of a crocodile, lined with hundreds of razor-sharp teeth which could kill even the most well-armored enemies.
Now that picture is of Tylosaurus, a separate genus of mosasaur. One of the easiest ways to tell the difference between the two is that Tylosaurus tends to have a thinner and pointier snout. The emphasis on Mosasaurus hunting armored prey likely isn't fully accurate, as there are other mosasaurs with more robust jaws like the aforementioned Pronathodon that would have been better suited for hunting armored prey like turtles and ammonites. To be fair, Mosasaurus probably did still hunt prey like this, just not as much as other mosasaurs.
Almost 3 times the size of the Leopleurodon, which was perhaps the next most ferocious sea predator.
A third of 50 feet is about 17 feet long, which is a bit on the smaller side of the current size range estimated for Leopleurodon, about 5 to 7 meters or 16 to 23 feet long. Although calling Leopleurodon the next most ferocious sea predator after Mosasaurus seems to be stretching it, since Megalodon exists, and even among pliosaurids you still had much bigger animals like Pliosaurus and Kronosaurus. But of course Leopleurodon is the one most people know about because of Walking with Dinosaurs. Although at least Mr. Nightmare got the size right.
The Mosasaurus would be capable of eating a small boat in one bite today.
Okay, the largest estimates I could find for the length of a Mosasaurus' skull is around 4 feet or so unless it's a really small boat, I call bullshit. At least it lines up with showing the absurdly oversized Jurassic World Mosasaurus. And that does it for this video. It just goes right to the end screen after that. The only other thing to comment on really is the question at the bottom here, which intentionally or otherwise just reminds me of another common bad trope in countdown videos, the dreaded top 10 animals science wants to bring back in all of its variants. But yeah, this was a pretty short video as far as countdowns go, so I'll just make this quick to avoid dragging on the video any longer. Friendly reminder that this is not a hate piece, and if you want me to cover worse videos than this, be sure to let me know in the comments below. Like and subscribe, and this is PaleoNerd signing out.